Tara. Hello.
Hi. I think you're on mute. I can't hear you. Oh, no, it was me.
Okay, we're live.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our next round of lives. And yeah, today we're speaking about anger, which is a very interesting topic. And before we start, would love, as people are joining, for you to give a thumbs up if this is the first live of ours that you're watching, and we'd like to welcome you into these weekly tantric conversations. And if you've already seen some of our lives, send us a hi so we can see those of you who have been following us and the progressions of what we're sharing with you all.
And if you've got any questions during the live, just pop your questions in the comments.
So today we dive into anger, and I think like a few people on the spiritual path, there's been some stage in one's life, and myself included, that I've really believed that I don't have any anger. And this is when I was spending a lot of time in India and meditating and really not feeling the depths of my emotional body that was trying to tell me something. And part of what you'll learn and receive in today's live is the importance of feeling your anger, and that along with our other emotions, anger is telling us where something is out of alignment. And yeah, it was really Tantra that helped me connect to my inner angry beast and to stop either vomiting and projecting that onto someone or suppressing it and it coming out in passive aggressive ways. So shall we dive in, Ms. Raven? Would you like to share your journey with anger?
Well, yeah. I mean, before I do, just to give it a more relatable context, I want to say that it's so easy to suppress our anger because it's such a judged emotion. So often something will happen and we'll feel angry about it, but there's this automatic bypass, which Tara touched on. So, something might happen where someone's late, or, you're not getting a response that you want, or something's agitating, and you feel like the first stirrings of anger. And instead of actually feeling it, going into the mind, that's what we mean when we say bypassing. And it's always interesting because anger is the energy that creates the most harm of all of the emotions, because it can turn to violence. And yet it's also the energy that can bring the most life force and vitality. So, my own journey with anger is that growing up, I was around a lot of anger from my mum's side of the family and had a lot of negative associations with it. And also felt where, just anger was scary. Anger felt scary in my body. And maybe if everyone can just close their eyes for a moment and bring a hand to your heart, just feeling into how anger has felt to you in your body when you've been on the receiving end of it. Has anger always been this thing that doesn't feel good? Or has it felt good? Has it ever felt good when someone's getting in touch with their anger? Has it ever felt good when someone is angry? Just feeling that and then opening the eyes. So, what I want to say to that is, if you got nothing out of this live other than the next sentence, then I've done my job, which is anger can feel good. Right? So anger is this primal force that when it's given permission to move through our body, it can shift what would become an exhausted or victimized state into an empowered state. It can shift what would usually be denied and repressed into something that is free. And I actually have gone from only having negative experiences to anger to, if I hear my partner angry, it feels really good. Now, why is that? Because he's, screaming and beating a pillow, and I know, oh, great, he's getting it out. Or, when Matisse and I were first together, he would always go to his car, and the kids and I would hear him releasing his car. And there would be like a relief of that, because when you're used to people repressing their anger and then it coming out in unpredictable ways, it's scary. And maybe you know that feeling of when you can feel someone angry and you're just waiting for them to blow up. And then the other way it's felt good is in my own body of, for anyone who read my last post, I talk about anger as the dragon. And there's this place where my dragon used to come up and I would feel, and then this over spiritualized part of me would try to approach whatever the situation was through my mind instead of actually honoring the body, try to find a solution, or, try to calm the person down that I'm talking to, or respond to the person even though I'm really angry. So to give you an example, just say, my partner says something like, oh, sorry, I have to change my plans, I'm doing this now. Or just say there's a working relationship and I've made really clear that there's a task I don't want to do, and then I'm being asked to do that task. Whatever it is, like something that feels annoying and frustrating. And the old me would just approach that mentally. The new me would take a pause and actually feel the first telltale signs that the dragon is stirring. And that's really when we're talking about how to integrate anger, how to feel it fully through your own body, you want to catch it before it escalates. So once I did get more in touch with my anger, so before Tantra, I wouldn't get angry. It was definitely passive aggressive behavior, but probably twice a year, I would just completely explode in psychotic rage when I couldn't tolerate anymore. And then they would just be like, which led to, running over my first boyfriend, which led to one time like physically attacking my first husband when he told me something, and, it rang this other chord that kept getting triggered by him, but I kept not saying anything about it. So, that feeling of like a time bomb that's ready to go off in your body when you're putting up with something, or acting okay with something until eventually you're just like, I'm not fucking okay. So this part's really important. The first step to integrating your anger is noticing the subtlety of the energy when it first comes up. Right? And just going into that and just actually getting in touch with that primal energy. So I want everyone to close their eyes and feel into a situation of annoyance, of frustration, something that is rattling your cage, that's stirring the dragon. And first of all, just give that some movement through your hips. And breathe out an open mouth, and just imagine that you're starting to breathe out a little bit of fire. And if you feel weird, it's supposed to feel weird. And like any emotion, the key to integrating it is to actually feel it in your body, to take it out of the mind and to allow yourself to experience it. So activating that primal force within and really getting out of your head about it and just allowing the body's natural response to the situation that's frustrating you to carry through. Like, trust the impulses of your body. And now start to vocalize. Vocalize the frustration. It doesn't matter who's right or wrong. It doesn't matter what's rational or irrational. It doesn't matter what, you don't have to think about solutions yet. You're just feeling that primal energy and you're vocalizing it. So we're not going to go too deep. We're just going to touch on kind of every stage. So now you want to fully express that anger, and just, if there's a pillow near you, just grab a pillow. I've got one behind me. Yeah. And you just want to like allow yourself to hit the pillow and keep yourself safe, obviously. And it's good to just raise the arms up and maybe you even want to say no. No.
No.
No.
No.
And just
no.
And maybe shake the body a little. Just let off some steam, literally. So shake the hands. Blow some fire. Feel your dragon wings unfurling. And then pausing and slowly bringing the body to stillness, bringing your hands to your heart and just feeling that life force energy. Now that you've got out of your head and into your body and allowed some frustration, and usually, I mean, what I always find is that once I actually own my dragon, own that anger, allow it to move through my body, there's grief. There's disappointment of some sort. There's sadness. And then you can open your eyes. From this place, that's where you're integrating your anger into power. Because instead of denying your anger, instead of projecting it onto others and talking about how angry other people are, if you're someone who attracts a lot of angry people, there's a high chance that they're reflecting your own suppressed anger, right? And then from that place of really allowing the dragon, of feeling it unfurling, of actually trusting your body's natural impulses, trusting that fire to be expressed, then after that, the real jewels of power that can be transmuted from victimhood are that you say, actually, I'm a no to this, without any explanation. You've felt your rage, you've validated it, you're owning it. It's like, you're not ever angry just for no reason. And maybe there's a boundary you need to set with yourself. Maybe you've gotten so angry because you smoked that joint you said you weren't going to smoke after saying you're going to have 3 months off. Or you're angry at yourself for hurting someone you love or a child. And your boundary is like, I've got to fucking stop that. And I need to start working on this piece, right? Because often anger is directed to ourselves, and anger and shame are really connected. So often we're feeling shame because we feel angry instead of allowing that anger and it giving us the lesson, or we're feeling shame around some behavior, and actually to fully feel that shame, anger is the gateway into that. So there's this opportunity to feel the rage, set a boundary with ourselves, or feel the rage, set a boundary with someone else. Hey, I made very clear that I didn't want any involvement in those tasks. And that's what's happening now. I'm a no to that. Or maybe after you've let off some steam, you feel flexible, right? or in the situation of being continually disappointed by someone making commitments and then not following through, and you're trying to be all spiritual and compassionate and understand, how about instead just going, hey, that's not okay, I need you to stick to your word. And maybe it's got to the point where there's an ultimatum of, I need you to stick to your word or we can't have this relationship. And you're getting real enough with your anger to realize, hey, I'm really fucking pissed about this and I don't want it anymore. So following on from the other lives we've done, where I've talked about the body's responsiveness and, a lot of my teachings, actually the turning point, the power choice is always when you feel a charge to go within and check it out, to get curious. And that's how you discover who you are. That's how you discover what you need. That's how you discover what you're a no to and what you're a yes to. And for every no, there's a yes. Yeah. So whenever you set a boundary, there's always an opportunity to discover what you're a yes to. Or like whenever you're angry about what's not happening, it's an opportunity to make a request about what you do want. So desire and fear are really closely connected. And what we're angry about and what we're fearing is often connected to what we desire, and vice versa.
Yeah, thank you for that. And, this has huge impacts on relationships as well, right? Because we're suppressing what we're angry or frustrated about. It's going to come up in some way at some point in time, weeks, months, years down the track.
Or in another fight that's about something completely different. Everyone knows what that's like, right? You're having a fight about a dinner date that got rescheduled, and lo and behold, everything comes out. And you said you were going to do this and you didn't do that. And like you get this big torrent of energy of all of those rocks that have been swept onto the carpet. And then all of a sudden the carpet gets aired out all at once and blinds the person and overwhelms the person, because there they are thinking everything's fine. And then all of a sudden they feel like you've been hating their guts for the last month, week, year without even knowing about it.
Mm-hmm. And yet, ironically, by feeling what's out of alignment in the relationship or in the work situation and speaking into it, then it actually gives those relationships the greatest chance to shift into more alignment, or to see that it's just not compatible.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And to feel that earlier on in the stage means that you can either grow together or see that foundationally there's not that compatibility.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, like if you're actually owning your anger, you can see that you're pissed off most of the time, right?
I'm happy and miserable most of the time.
Yeah, and that can also be that you're realizing how much repressed anger you have, and that's why your relationship's not working. You're like, oh fuck, this is what my partner's been feeling this whole time, is all of this rage that I have. There's a lot of men especially who feel very sensitive to energy, but they're not saying anything, and we may not be acting angry overtly, but because our emotional bodies are so much bigger than men's, they're often being impacted by our anger without us knowing it. So we're like, I didn't even say anything. But you walked in the room and I felt it. I could feel that you were upset.
Slam that door a little bit harder than you usually close it.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. I've definitely done that on lots of occasions. I'm a door slammer from way back. I love to slam a good door when I'm pissed off. And we're all humans, so there's going to be those moments where the door does slam, but then it's about letting that slam or whatever it is to make us aware, hey, you're angry here, stop fucking suppressing it. Like if everyone spends some time every day just breathing into that primal energy and feeling what they're actually pissed off about, we would have a different world.
Yeah, and people are doing it through fucking guns and war rather than feeling all that anger and repressed energy that's living inside of them that they don't know what to do with. So it's like that primal mammalian, the way that they deal with anger is they just fucking fight, sometimes to the
Yeah.
death.
And it comes out when people are drunk. It comes out in arguments because, you know, there's a high trigger. So yeah, I think the biggest gift that owning my anger gave me is definitely boundaries. Actually just feeling where I'm like, no, stop, and angry, and just being able to say this isn't okay without any explanation, without all the head stuff. It's just like you feel that primal energy and you feel that dragon that's actually protecting your inner child often, right? It's there, and it's like, hey, there's a little girl here that I need to protect. And often, instead of protecting through boundaries and feeling our anger and actually getting real with what's threatening our inner child and what's not feeling safe for her, we just stay on the top surface level of our protective mechanisms and withdraw or fight, you know, go into that fight or flight state. So doing the deeper inner work takes us out of that superficial first level into the deeper layers of what's actually important, so that instead of being in habituated protective mechanisms, we're actually protecting from a place of creating safety for ourselves. And those two things are very different.
Absolutely. And I feel like another important thing to mention here is there can be anger absolutely related to the person or the situation that you're dealing with, but there can be a whole heap of anger from your past that doesn't have anything to do with that person, that's kind of getting piled onto that situation, you know. And then after those anger outbursts, there's the shamies going, oh, that wasn't actually to do with you. So that choice of self-responsibility to do the practice that we just did, to actually pause before communicating and take some time to be curious, as you said, Raven, and just to feel and release that, then who knows what that anger is also linked to. It could bring up stuff from your past. And if you sit with it long enough, then there's going to be that safety in your body to actually clear some of your past as well through the anger response in the present moment. And then you get to differentiate the two of what is yours and your past and what is actually the present situation, and what needs to be communicated or actioned from that space of clarity.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when I saw it from the framework of, you know, the spiritual concept of taking responsibility, I'm the type of person that when I'm angry, I'm rebelling against everything and everyone. So when it was like, take responsibility, you know, that voice in my head, breathe, pause, I'm like, fuck you. Everyone's different. And some people that will work for, like maybe you, Tara, who has a gentler temperament than me. But I actually, what's the call of power to me is, can you actually trust your body right now? Can you actually trust your body and see what's really going on? And I've learned to trust my body. I've learned that if there is anger there, there is a reason for that. And it may be related to my partner, or, as you say, to the past, and that my partner or my kids or whoever are triggering that. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because another empowering question to ask once we're feeling it is like, you know, maybe we're just upset. We're having this huge overreaction, and I'm sure everyone's been there. Like, okay, he's an hour late, a bit of a schmuck, he's kept you waiting, but is it really as big as it feels? Does it really warrant you going absolutely psychotic? Probably not, right? So when you feel how much something is impacting, and you go into it and you allow the body's natural impulses, and you allow the dragon to, you feel that stirring, you allow the dragon's wings to come out and that fire to explode, and you vocalize and you punch some pillows and you really allow some energy, then you can ask the next empowering question, which is, what does this remind me of? And I don't even need to ask that anymore, because I've asked that of myself for so many years. I just actually get a very clear picture of what it's reminding me of. And then I go back to that frozen point in time and get to feel the fight response that I didn't get to feel then, and the flight response, and just take the space that I need. So yeah, it is really, really deep work, and everyone has their own conditioned responses to anger. If anger is a huge issue for you, then you may need one-on-one mentoring with Tara or myself or someone who knows what they're doing, just so that you can actually reflect on what are my conditioned responses to anger? What are the beliefs that I have about anger? What are my responses like? How can I rewire them? And what's a practice for me that's really going to support the consistent unsticking of that energy that's stuck in my body of all this repressed anger. And then, of course, just being guided in body work by a skilled practitioner is going to support that.
Absolutely. And if anger is an edge for you and you want to explore it solo as well, then a great practice to do for 30 days is 10 minutes of pillow beating. So we just did that on our pillow now, where you can get your body used to that you can express anger in a safe environment where you're not hurting anyone and where you're giving your voice expression, whether it's through no, whether it's through fuck you, and letting that energy move some way each day to get familiar with that.
Yeah, and I'll edit that slightly. 10 times is better. 10 minutes is a lot. That would be very exhausting. Like just 10 big pillow beats and maybe 10 minutes of feeling the anger. Because especially when you're first starting, it can bring up a lot of memories, especially if you've had abuse. So I would take it a bit slower and just and then doing that 10 times every day, slowly, you can start to see what you need to see, feel what you need to feel, and allow some release. It can kind of get a bit blind after 10 times. And you can lose your center. So the motion of pillow beating also really requires like big pillows that, you're not going to bash yourself. You need to use this part of your arm, and you need to really let the sound come from your body and not from your throat, because then you're going to have a really sore throat. So you're not screaming, you're letting that more primal roar, as opposed to that throat scream, which, whenever that happens in workshops or retreats, if you've been in my spaces, I'm always like, don't throat scream, let the sound come from your body. So often starting with the non-verbal, which is why I said just start by feeling your primal energy first, is going to activate your life force energy, so that when you do vocalize and when you do verbalize, whether we're talking about the no and the pillow beating, or we're talking about sharing with someone, it's going to be a lot more authentic when it's coming from the body and not from the mind.
Absolutely. And it's a great training just to connect to the body more. And, when out in public as well, it's like if something's triggering you and you're feeling that frustration and anger, then the invitation is just to take a deep breath. And so it can be in the more intense energies of pillow beating, and it can be in the subtleties as well as instead of contracting and swallowing it down, it's just to letting yourself breathe into it.
Yeah, and just going for a walk and maybe doing some hand screams. So if everyone just like covers their mouth now, we're talking about anger, so it might be stirring some fire, and just screaming, moving your hips, and then just like shaking the shoulders up and down. So if you're not expending that energy, if you're not energetically purging in any way or purging through sound, the energy is going to be stuck. And then you're just going to manifest ways to be angry. You're going to draw situations to you that frustrate the fuck out of you, because that's how the universe works. We're given exactly what we need. So I was attracting, when my anger was very repressed, I was attracting A, angry people, and B, situations that would make me really angry. It's like the universe pushing me, would you fucking feel this, please? So if you're in that position and you're victimizing yourself, shifting into actually owning all the rage that's inside of you is going to be so beneficial to your empowerment, particularly if you've had abuse. So, and this is where one-on-one work is even more important. If you've been sexually abused or physically abused, your protective mechanisms are going to be huge. And that dragon is just going to be so fucking spiky the minute someone messes with you, and you're just going to be like, ah, and you're going to want to burn them, either by just creating separation, or by fighting them, or usually a combination of both. And what you're doing is you're making up for all the ways you couldn't get away when you were abused and you couldn't fight when you were abused, and you're projecting the abuser onto the person that you're relating to. Yeah. Lots of deep caverns in when we're looking at our anger. And of course, to be able to process our anger, we have to meet the shame of our anger. And that shame can be from those beliefs like anger is bad, anger isn't spiritual, anger is harmful, anger is a vexation to the spirit. And rewiring that, starting to feel that, and actually, like, I'm angry for a reason. It's okay to feel my anger. I trust my body's impulses. It's safe to feel my anger. My anger is the gateway to my power, because I'm going to know where I need to set boundaries. My anger is a gateway to healthy boundaries. It's a gateway to healing from all the shame that I carry. And sometimes, the anger that you're holding in your body, some of it isn't even yours. It's your mother's anger. It's your father's anger. So there comes a stage where you're also purging that through breath, sound, and movement. So yeah, lots of layers. And I feel like we've probably hit our limit insofar as what we can verbalize, and the rest is embodiment. If you haven't already got Tantra 101 8-day free journey, check that out. That really supports a guidance into the body. And also, I have an amazing event coming up that we'll reveal soon. So just pop in the comments, Queen, and you'll receive an opportunity to register your interest for that and be the first to find out about it. So, Tara, were there any questions that people have posted before we?
Not that I can see of. But for anyone watching live or the
replay, there might have been one that Elise posted in the thread, so just check that for you to. Let's have a look.
And in the meantime, for everyone watching, if there's anyone who you feel could do with learning more about anger and true power, then send them a link to this live.
Yeah, so the question is tools which best help to access anger for those who default into sadness. So it's really what I spoke about, noticing the subtlety of frustration or annoyance and taking it from there. So you might be feeling grief, and then just, and can I feel a little bit of annoyance? Can I feel a little bit of frustration? And also just outside of that, when you feel the grief, outside of feeling grief, just noticing when you do feel a bit annoyed or frustrated and actually going into it. Yeah. So being much more aware of the subtleties, and then processing in the way that we've discussed.
Listen to the body. Thanks everyone for joining us. Thank you, Raven, for everything that you've shared.
Welcome, Tara. Thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.
See you then.
Bye.